don't know if we have anyone watching yet, but hello everybody. Anyone watching now or later? To go first, huh? Good boy. Finally warmer today, huh? Covered in snow. Give me 1 second, boys. Be right back. It's okay. This is a test after all. And to be fair, Papa talks a little quieter than Mama, so can she hear me now? Can we hear me now? You're good boys. Hey, Ginger. Okay, let me scoop it and I'll let you out. Good boys. Maybe I need to say more words just in case. Is that better? We can be closer to the camera.
Hi, buddy, buddy. Oh, I love you.
But
Yeah.
the crows can be a little loud. I think I got all the except for Ginger. Quick. And then we'll get started. Hold on, buddy. Hold on, buddy. Good boy. That's a good boy. So sorry you gotta be in here, buddy. Feel that it's better. Okay. boys. Hey, good boys. Come here. Come here. Come on.
Hold on, baby boy. Oh. You might want to turn it up just a bit. Do you have pulled up on your phone already?
It might be. It's
can
not
grab
on
mine.
YouTube, but we might be able to.
Oh. Good boy, Mimi. Oh. Bear with me one second, dude. Yeah, the speaker's coming from the new security cam, so the wind noise is going to be a bit of an annoyance. Hi, Mimi. Oh, come here. Come here.
It's okay.
Come here, baby.
Me.
That's a good boy. Come here. It's okay. Okay. That's a good boy. That's a good buddy. Yeah, the wind sounds might make it a little tricky. I wonder if we can block it somehow. Hi, baby boy.
Sorry, I'll be right back.
Oh, it's
Hey, Mimi.
Hey, Daisy. Oh,
Hey,
leave
Mimi.
him alone. Come here, Mimi.
Come on.
I'm going. Oh, good boy. We'll see if we can get the volume adjusted a little bit. The wind is going to be tricky, but hopefully we can overcome it. Hey, Mimi, should we where that speaker is? Where is the speaker? Be that right there. Yeah, I wonder if we can block that somehow, you guys. I wonder if we could shield that. Hi, Morgan. Okay. Okay. Hi, buddies. Hi. Hi, baby. Careful, buddy. Hey, Mimi. Be nice. Be nice. I know it's weird. It's okay. Come here. Come here. Hi, sugar. Hi, sugar bud. Big good boy. Come here, Mimi. It's okay. The sleep's not gonna get you. The sleep's not gonna get you. Okay, well, let's see. How to fix some stuff, hopefully.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get much better just by turning the volume up since it is a little breezy. It's just the wind noise.
Right. Jill was saying she can hear us fine, just noisy wind. So, but maybe we can limit it a
I
little
might
bit.
be able to do something about it.
All right. Bear with us one more second. We're gonna see if we can reduce the wind down just a bit. Hi there. Yeah, then we'll make introductions and all that good stuff, huh, buddies? Daisy, baby. Daisy bird. Boys, how's your day? How's your day, good buddy? Good boy. Good boy. We just got this thing stuck on your tail doing a flap. That was pretty tricky, baby. it.
Well, I feel it would be unlikely, but has that assisted with the wind noise at all?
Really much about the boys yet. Okay, he's gonna go do something. So this is Morgan, and Morgan, believe it or not, was the runt of the hatch. He was the tiniest little rooster when he hatched. Super petite. He was peeping all the time. He's grown into such a big, confident rooster. Huh, buddy? One of Morgan's claims to fame is that he knows the command wait. When someone else is cuddling and he's feeling like he might want to turn, he's getting a little too pushy, I can put out my hand and say, wait, Morgan, and he'll freeze and he'll wait. And then as soon as that other bird leaves and it's his turn, he jumps up so eagerly. So that's his trick, if you will. And this is Maelstrom. And Maelstrom was our first head roo, although he lost that position to Ginger some 6-7 months ago. Pretty much when he learned about cuddles. He was all about just keeping his distance, being reserved, keeping watch. And then one day he was dealing with a really nasty windstorm, much worse than today. Clearly stressed when we went out, finally climbed up on a lap and just melted like he had been waiting for it his entire life. We joke that he resigned his head roo position once he realized that it would detract from getting his cuddle time. And then Ginger filled in the gaps. So May is our amazing flock member because he's the only one of the boys who's prone to getting reactive, getting scared or upset, panicking. But he's clearly such a sweetheart. We've got all kinds of footage of him being super cuddly and affectionate. He's just really anxious and it doesn't take a lot to spook him. He's a very good boy. Flock in order. And so Ginger is the one he is, or at least was, our current head rooster. Before he went into the kennel, he's in there because he sprained his ankle about 3 weeks, I guess. Sprained his left ankle. We think jumping down and landing bad on a rock. So following that, we went through and took out all of the large rocks from their run. Then he somehow managed to sprain his right ankle or do something to that leg literally the day before we were about to bring him back into the flock and get him reacclimated. So he's on week 3 in the kennel. Hopefully within the next week he'll be able to come out and rejoin everyone. He's definitely bored, but he's been doing well. He seems to understand what's going on. And then Daisy here, behind me, that's Daisy's special call. I'm not sure why he responds to it. The others don't really have a sound, so they respond to that way. But Daisy will typically come running if you make that sound at him. We joke that Daisy is our flower child. He just really doesn't like to get into anything. He likes to kind of keep to himself, just be chill. The one exception is if May decides he needs to kick at my shoes or my sleeves. Daisy tends to get pretty offended by that and will frequently rush to my aid. But he's a total puppy dog, super cuddly. Come here, Bun Bun. Come here. Yeah, come here, buddy. Huh?
Real quick.
Yeah.
I stapled some cardboard on either side of the camera. Did that help with the wind noise?
That's probably funneling the cockadoodles. Come Happy bunny boy. Love you. It's a good boy. Really? Really, truly. Oh, come here then. Come here then. Hi, Daisy. Hi, Ginger.
It's way better. It's way better now.
Oh, good. Okay.
Nice.
Perfect. All right. Oh, and yes, I had seen a question about whether the cartoons on the on the late screen are the boys, and they are. We recently got those commissioned as kind of mascots to represent each of them. And love how they turned out. We think they definitely capture their uniqueness and, and their energy. Huh. You're the tall one. You're the tall boy. Hi, buddy. Yeah, what'd you get?
It's scooped in everything, and we're scooping. You want to come out, buddy? Stretch your legs.
Okay, so the pecking at the legs, the best we can gather is that is basically a request for attention. It's like they'll often do it with our hand if they want our hand to move from where it is. So if I've got Morgan on my lap and Daisy wants me to pet him instead, he might come up and put my finger with his beak and just kind of pull to like put my hand where he wants it. And yeah, the pecking at the leg is kind of a pay attention to me, come here, I want your focus on me. Definitely different than the pecking when they're feeling threatened. You might have seen May do that a little bit earlier with my sleeve, which for some reason he really doesn't trust. But that's more of a punctuated, scolding kind of peck, as opposed to the come to me drag that they'll do too. And the girls will do that also when they want attention to be picked up. Huh, come here. Come here, Chicky Bun Bun. Do you want to come here? Oh, yeah. Very good demonstration, Daisy. Thank you.
Come here, buddy. Come on up.
Here, Daisy. Come with Mama real quick. Come with Mama. We'll keep this by us, okay? Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy boy. Oh, this is
Well.
okay. I was gonna say that's an awkward position. Your eyebrows? You want to show your pretty eyebrows? Come here.
As you can imagine, there's a lot of
Oh, you're okay. Come here.
competition for attention
Let's take a look.
when we have to
Take a
spend
look
so much
at Daisy's wild hair.
ginger.
Yeah, this is true. Huh. It's just going nuts back
Good
there,
morning.
isn't it? He's always had the crazy owl eyebrows, but the whole back of his head is doing it now, huh? Here. He's a good boy. Thank you.
Yes, it's a good boy. Yes, it's a good
It's
boy.
okay, baby.
You want to help me?
Do you want to come here?
It's a good boy.
Do you want to come
Ginger interrupted you. You got a crow?
up? There's a good boy. There's a good boy.
You got a crow?
He's probably got one in there.
Ginger interrupted him, so he waited. He's a good boy. Okay, gentle.
Uh-oh.
Almost. Good boy.
Oh, goodness.
Go see Mama.
Hey,
Good boy.
buddy. Yeah, spring has them a little hyper. They seem to be able to tell that it's coming, so a lot of high energy in the room lately. Oh, buddies. I think they're doing great, all things considered.
Yeah. Good. Come here. Yeah, you're good buddies.
It's a good boy, Minion. Is it a
Very
good boy?
good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, that's okay, let's see here. Gotta keep track.
Ginger, I want to let you down. You want to go walk around? We just got to watch Morgan.
Yeah. Oh, Morgan, that.
Good boy, huh?
Yeah, May is incredibly talkative. It's really interesting, actually, because oftentimes in a bachelor flock, only the head roo will be allowed to crow. I think it might be just how well our boys get along, being raised together. They're very tolerant of each other, so they do fairly equal crowing, really, with the exception of Daisy, who does often get scolded when he tries. But he's even been chiming in lately, so it's usually kind of a status thing, but some head roos are much less protective of that right than others. And Ginger and May both, when they've been in head roo position, have really been very tolerant, very accepting of the others, which is sweet.
I would imagine that, that expected dynamic where the lower roos aren't allowed to do things, it probably comes into play more when it's a mixed flock. The fact that it's a bachelor flock and they're the only birds around each other, probably makes them more accepting of that.
Yeah, and we've often wondered why it is that, Morgan is allowed to crow, Ginger's allowed to crow when May was head roo, and May's allowed to crow now that Ginger is, but for some reason, Daisy's just not allowed. This boy here, Morgan, is making kind of a play for head roo since Ginger has been in the kennel. He's thinking this might be his moment, and it's been a lot of just posturing from either side of the cage. Fortunately, no kicking, nothing like that, but just flaring the neck and kind of mirroring each other's motions.
Well, there was kicking. That's what got Ginger here.
But not while in the kennel.
They were. Yeah. Morgan was challenging Ginger when Ginger's leg was still okay, and that wound up leading to a second sprained ankle, which got him back in the kennel.
Yep, this is true. Well, and interestingly, Daisy has made a couple of attempts to kind of stop by the kennel since then and poof his neck at Ginger, and Morgan, who's been the #1 roo doing neck poofs at Ginger, will come running over and stop him. Don't you mess with my brother, and then he'll go into the neck flaring, only I mess with my brother. So that's been kind of silly. He doesn't think anyone else should be giving him a hard time, but he definitely seems to be thinking he needs to prove himself now. So it's going to be interesting when we let Ginger back out. We're pretty much planning on just being out here all day and kind of supervising and assisting in that transition. But all the signs so far are really promising. We haven't seen any full tilt conflict through the kennel bars or anything like that. And you can see they're pretty peaceful when he's out with us. It's once he gets on the ground that they start kind of feeling like it's game on.
I think they all really understand why Ginger's in there. Mostly Ginger, but I don't think he's in trouble or anything. He understands that we're helping him, and if he were more anxious, if he was just in there in timeout and he didn't think he deserved it, I think he'd be a lot more active and anxious and unsettled and trying to get out. And that could be conflict. I can see that. Very peaceful.
Well, he's been getting spoiled rotten. It's been so cold up here. We've been having lows in the teens, if not single digits, and we were concerned about him sleeping alone in those kinds of temperatures. And of course, he can't safely roost with his leg injured. So he's been getting to sleep in the home office with the window cracked on a cushy, padded floor of his kennel. He's been getting scrambled egg dinner every night.
He's been loving it. He puts himself to bed and chirps about it like it's the happiest thing he's ever experienced.
That's his new habit. He knows that that's where he goes to sleep, so he'll finish his scrambled egg dinner, his treats, whatever he's having. He'll get a drink of water, and then he'll just so confidently trot into the kennel and start making these little like this little noise that he makes when he thinks he's found a good nest spot. So these days we can literally just ask him, is it time for night-night, Ginger? You want to go night-night? And he'll just traipse right on in there and put himself to bed. Oh, buddy.
You want to come up too?
Hi, baby. Come here.
Good job. Good job. And not that this is necessarily a good thing, but since Ginger was head roo, he never really really leaned into the cuddles, he would jump up on our laps, but he would never accept like an actual hug or snuggle or kisses or anything. And when we try, he would jump down like, don't, that's too much. But since his leg injury and coming in and getting the extra attention, he has just been soaking it up. He's been loving it. Oh, good. Yeah. He forgot what he was missing.
Yeah. And Tam, I saw your comment a while back about your girls asking for food with the kind of pecking and beak dragging and not thinking of it being maybe attention. One of our girls was so notorious for the longest time about as soon as we went out there and we sat down, she would come running from across the run and just nail our hands, just like charge and peck, almost
Kind of like
Rooster
maybe
has.
with the shoes.
Yeah, and it was the strangest thing. But the thing is, she's lowest in the pecking order, and she's really, really anxious. She was also hand-raised, so she grew up spoiled. She grew up getting a lot of handling and attention. But she's very skittish. She's very nervous. And at a certain point, we started getting the impression that this might be kind of a desperation to get paid attention to and to get what she was asking for. So I started teaching her to imitate what one of her sisters did to ask to come up, which is digging at my leg with her foot or dragging with her beak to ask to come up. And so when she came up and she ran, she pecked my hand, I would say, that's not how we ask. That's not asking polite. And I would make this motion. And then as soon as she did that with her beak or her foot, I'd pick her right up and hold her. And it took her maybe 3 or 4 days really to catch on to that. And it was a huge drop off in the running and pecking. At this point, it's been months since she did that even once. So yeah, it was definitely something to do with just a desperation. She was just so panicked and trying to get her point across the fastest way she knew how. As soon as she learned a way that worked better, she dropped that like a hot potato. So it can definitely sometimes be that kind of stuff can look impatient or frustrated or angry, but they're just kind of high-strung and don't always know how to express what they're asking.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, buddy.
What's funny is, much like when we recorded the video on rooster behavior, how they were so well behaved and they just stayed with us on the roost for that entire time. The video was only 30 minutes, but we were out there filming for like an hour and a half, and they were with us the whole time. I think they recognize now that we're doing the same thing. We're talking to somebody, but not them. So they're like taking a back seat and they're just chilling, totally like okay with it. This is not normal visits. I mean, they're always cuddly, but this is not typical.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be able to tell. They seemed confused when we were filming that video. Like, okay, well, I guess we'll just wait till you're paying attention to us then. And interestingly, anytime that I happen to have like my headset on and bring a phone call out here, which doesn't happen often, but once in a while I'll be on a call or talking to someone on the phone in the run, and they start cockadoodling like crazy, like they just won't calm down if there's someone on the other side of the phone. And so I think it's kind of a protective thing. They can hear a new person, but they don't see them. Whereas obviously here, they're not hearing any other voices. So they're not seeing it as anyone they don't know being present, but they can still definitely tell that something is weird. It isn't a typical day. Oh, babies. Yeah, hi, Ming. Hi, buddy.
You want to get down and walk around? I'll go Morgan for a bit. We still gotta watch Daisy a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Daisy,
You want to walk around?
Buddy?
Good morning, Kennedy. Yeah, go around. Go around. Good.
Oh,
Oh, a little bird.
a little bird.
Oh no. Good job.
Was it a scary sparrow?
What?
It's so scary. Hi, Mimi. Do you want to come up? Come here, Pumpkin. Here, Pumpkin. Let me hand you the phone. Okay. Mimi. It's okay, buddy. I know. Shoes, sleeves. Come here. Come here, boo boo. Be Be nice. What'd you find, Ginger? What'd you find, buddy? Come here, Lucy. Hey, it's a bird.
Hi. Yes? Oh, I know. And this is Meme saying it's treat time, huh?
Oh.
Is that right?
Come here, Lucy.
Meme, where's the treats?
What do you think? Does the snacky come?
No, we gotta leave him alone right now, okay? Yeah.
Morgan, here, pass
His
it.
leg's still not better, okay?
Morgan, don't be an
I know.
opportunist.
Come on.
Don't be
You
an opportunist.
come here.
buddy.
Yes, here. Maybe this would be a good time for treats.
But what?
Okay.
Okay, we'll set the phone down for a minute to do snacks. You guys want snackies?
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Are you ready for treats? Hey. Yes,
Can you take Morgan and somebody?
This.
Ginger. Buddy. Maybe. Oh, maybe. Here you go. Here you go, buddy.
There you go.
Good.
Yummy treats, Judge.
Boys.
Please, it's funky.
Ginger.
Ginger. It's looking better, buddy.
Yeah.
It really is.
Come on, have some treats. There you go.
Good job. Daisy, what's fun, buddy? Is it good?
Good buddy. Ooh. Yeah.
Boy.
Yum, yum.
Good snackies. Is it good snackies?
Ginger must be distracted by being out of the kennel.
Good question.
Oh.
I mean, he's getting gourmet dinners every night.
Yeah.
This isn't such a big deal.
Good boy. Good sharing. Yeah, that's very nice.
Oh, Daisy.
That's very nice. Yeah. May, is it good? Oh.
There's too many on the ground.
Yeah. Good boy.
You look like all yours are on the ground, man. All yours are on the ground, Bun Bun.
Boys. Good boy.
Good job, Ginger.
I'm gonna put the rest in the kennel for you. Yeah, you can have those later. Good boys.
Look, Matthew's being so polite. Huh, buddy, you're being so polite. You're the only one that's not trying to challenge him any.
Yeah.
Wait, he's like, I don't want that decision back. I know what comes from that. You don't want to be that rude, do you? Yeah, been there, done that.
Maybe even Ginger realize Cuddles is where it's at. I'm curious if they'll keep it up. We sure hope so. Do you guys generally always baby talk with them, or do you normal talk?
Non-stop.
Too terrible at that. They know it is.
Oh,
I remember commenting on a post in the group about this, and at the time I thought for sure that I spoke, somewhat regularly in my normal voice, but I've been thinking about it lately, and no, it's pretty much only baby talk, like 100% of the time out here. I have to say, only if things get serious or if they go wrong and I have to coordinate with Sarah really fast, then normal voice comes out. That's why they were so are the ages of them? Does the age matter? So they're all, what is it, 2.5 months shy of 2 years. They were actually all hatched the same day. They all share the same dad, actually, who looks just like Daisy here. And then a mixed flock of different females, but yeah, so they're all actually blood relatives, brothers, and two of our hens are their sisters.
Oh my gosh, Ginger. Oh. It's because you guys are just big feather puppies, huh?
Good work.
You're just big feather puppies. I think that'll work. Yeah, compliment worse.
Good boys. Hi, Daisy.
Yeah, Ginger, do you see that?
Good job, Ginger.
Do you want to take him? He's being squirmy, maybe.
You might just...
Entirely possible. You might just want to walk around. Don't that keep you safe, though? Oh, and Denise, it just occurred to me that we should add that, yeah, these boys are going 2 years old. Age matters really just in terms of behavioral stability. Like, so when they're teeny tiny chicks, they're pretty chill, they're pretty easy to deal with. But as soon as the hormones hit during the teen phase, which would be maybe 4 to 5 months, up to a year or sometimes even longer, they get hit with so much testosterone so suddenly that they become kind of loose cannons for a time there. From about a year on average, that starts to kind of taper down. They adjust, they learn how to cope, they kind of equalize a little bit, and then typically their first spring takes a lot of that back. So it's like the longer that they've had to deal with grown bird testosterone levels, the better they get at it, and the more springs they've been through, the easier those get too. So 2 years is an awesome mark because from there, it's like most of those rough patches are kind of behind them. And things are usually fairly stable moving forward from there, barring any strange things like, predators, any kind of traumatic experience, changes to the flock, illness, those kinds of things can cause a disruption again. But for the most part, by about 2 years old, what you see is what you get. That's a pretty set personality type that they're going to have and continue to have. And any abnormalities from there, it's best to just treat as some strange situation. Something having them abnormally upset, just like if a human's having a bad day or a tough week. Yeah, you guys are firmly in the same category.
And so it's cool to see the progression. I think it's partly experience-based, but also, something to do with the hormone tapering off. Certain behaviors like their pecks for attention or their bites for attempting mating attempts. You saw earlier with Morgan latching onto my hand and starting a humpy. That has just progressively gotten better, from a year ago to now. They used to draw blood almost every time, and just from us, I think encouraging them and not punishing them and sort of expressing our own discomfort at the beginning they adjust. They try different places. They're like, oh, well, here hurt them, so maybe I'll try here, maybe I'll try here. And eventually it just got to the point where they realized that holding on gently, or not even at all, allows them a better chance at success of getting what they want.
Well, maybe
But-
sometimes just
Good boy.
consideration. Daisy has learned the command gentle. He has a weepy eye due to an eye infection as a chick, and his vet thinks that it's something to do with the tear duct kind of area that's sort of damaged as a result of that, and so his eye just kind of leaks as a general thing. And that means that oftentimes I'm going in there near his face trying to clean him up, and during the teen phase, anytime I reached near his face, chest, anything, he was latching onto my hand. So I taught him the command gentle so that he would know, okay, I'm going to reach near you, don't bite my hand. And believe it or not, it actually works. So well, in fact, that I was feeling bad for him for being so high-strung the other day and was trying to get him to grab my hand in hopes that maybe that outlet would calm him down. It took so many attempts. Every time I moved my hand, he'd lunge like he wanted to, and then he would stop himself. Because he just knows that he's not supposed to do that, because that hurts. And then Ginger, here, lying down in the lab, has chosen to start biting his own toe to hold on instead of us, with results just as comical and frequently disastrous as you might expect. He doesn't do a very good job keeping his balance and staying where he's trying to stay, doing it that way, but he seems to prefer to do that than to resist. And so, question from Jill, what is in the wire cage? I mean, I know it's a tree, but do we know what kind of tree it is?
Oh, that one. It's a sumac bush, like in the sumac family. So, like, it's a tree-looking bush thing that may only get like 5 or 6 feet tall. I did as much research as I could. I think that the resources available on that kind of stuff is not as great as I would like, but that was one of the things that said multiple places that it was safe for chickens. So
yeah, which is strange. You would think with there being things like poison sumac that anything in the sumac family would be scary, but interestingly enough, it's pretty limited to certain parts of that family. And of course, they managed to still eat the leaves off of it in very short order. It's probably not going to grow, but they're pretty used to it.
Oh, it's,
Do you think it's going to come back?
Absolutely.
Oh.
They did that last year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully, because it is very pretty. It's a beautiful red and orange and yellow kind of looking fall. It's quite pretty. And so,
I believe, I think it has some sort of like very minor pain relief, property. I think Native Americans used that as like a tea or something.
And yeah, that is an interesting question about the height, the roots being available, and whether they like to try to get higher than each other for like a dominance thing. And interestingly, Ginger is the only one we've really seen do that. His trademark maneuver, anytime usually Morgan was flaring or challenging him, was to jump up on the bench and just look down at him to render himself taller and more intimidating. I haven't seen any of the others use any kind of tactic like that, or really seem to even consider it. It's definitely Ginger's go-to move, and seems to work really well, because usually Morgan backs right off when he does it. But he's really very reserved about it.
Makes some logical sense too. Like, I'm not saying it's guaranteed to be the case, but Ginger's a bit smaller than Morgan, certainly shorter, and so he can't get that advantage on the ground. So that might have something to do with it. Real quick, what time is it? Because it's currently set to automatically end at 2, but if you wish for it to continue, I could run in and change that.
Because it took us a while.
Yeah. We could leave that up to
Good boy. Yeah, so in terms of telling Ginger and Morgan apart from a distance, there's a few things that are noteworthy, some probably more obvious from far away way than others. So Morgan is definitely taller. His overall posture is just very upright. I think it actually might be a result of him being kind of stunted. I think the reason that he was the red, that he was so tiny as a chick, is because he was hatched from a pullet egg. So the neighbors who hatched them for us told us later that one of those eggs was small enough that they weren't even sure that they should try to incubate it. It was one of their newer layers. And they decided on a whim, well, we'll put it in there and we'll see what happens. And he was the result of that.
And he always had this sort of like scrunched, compact body shape that was unlike all the other boys. But yeah, that made it wrong.
Yeah, well, and it seems, if you look at his tail position, his tail really angles towards his head far more than anyone else's. Like, most of them have kind of this resting 45-degree angle and just more straight when it's upright. His comes back like this when it's straight and is like this the rest of the time. I'm not sure if that's the kind of slightly oddly shaped body that's putting it at that angle, but that would be my best guess. So I think that's one of the most noticeable things with Morgan is just the tail position and the overall height of the neck. He also has a much more orange copper tone to his neck and his saddle feathers, whereas Ginger's is kind of more of a cherry or mahogany.
Oh my gosh!
It's ravens! We like them. They're good birds. We like them. And then, yeah, moving down to the much more subtle differences, Morgan's comb has a very blunt, straight, kind of, what would you call it, thin kind of look to the
It's definitely much flatter and upright, and Ginger's angles back and also has quite the swoop to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Morgan also has about the straightest spurs on the face of the earth when he stands with his legs just perfectly even. They like form a branch. Like, so some minor differences like that. He's also got this partially white tail feather that he's gotten coming in lately that Ginger doesn't have. His tail's still all black. And he's also got the wide-eyed, astonished face, usually. Ginger usually looks pretty, too cool for school, and Morgan usually looks like he just backed into something. Always very intense and alarmed looking. Oh, but, yeah. Yeah, so the sumac was there, I guess, kind of just to add, shade in the summer and to try to just spice up the visual environment in the Wren. The plant is about to stay in here, and it was purchased in hopes that as it grows, it wouldn't exceed the height of the Wren. We really wanted to have something like a tree to just snazz things up, and especially to give shade, but weren't sure what we could go with. There's so few options that wouldn't grow beyond the height of the Wren and would actually be safe, leaves, bark, everything. And like Jacob had said, it's pretty hard to find very conclusive information on toxicity for chickens specifically with just about any plant.
Because we know they'll eat everything.
Yeah. I just have to touch your waffles. Oh my goodness. I know. You're being a very good boy.
Oh, let me take you off, Morgan.
Can you hop down for me? Morgan, you hop down?
Oh, let's see. Who's on the bottom of the order right now? I think it would have to be Daisy still.
Yeah.
It's been
Come
Morgan
on,
before.
I'll be right back. Okay.
But they're quite good about it. It's most of the issues we see is just that one of them will be much more skittish if someone else comes near. Like if May walks towards Daisy, Daisy will kind of dart away, and go mill about somewhere else. It's more avoidance than anything. But frankly, actually, the biggest problems we've had recently have been Morgan not doing that.
Good boy, thank you.
Daisy has been a little more inclined to stand his ground again, probably because Ginger's in the kennel. He's hoping that maybe he can have the bottom spot taken over by him. So he's been a little more self-assured, a little more confident lately. so panicked when someone comes near. Like, they'll walk past him with no intention of messing with him, but he'll run like they are, and then they kind of seem to go, well, I guess there must be a reason you think I should chase you, so I will. So he sometimes gets himself singled out just by being a little on the skittish, nervous side. But usually they're pretty good about just, quickly resolving any of those disputes and going back to peaceful, and it's really more of just, this is my space, and then the other bird will move out of it, and everything is good from there. Huh. Yeah. And Mei always likes to act as peacekeeper, even though he's not the head brew currently. He's still kind of the bouncer. If he thinks anyone's getting out of line, he's going to come in and stop them and break them out. Yeah, the tree should only grow, I think it had said 5, maybe 6 feet max. It's kind of like a miniature thing. Good boy, Ginger just found his leftover treats. And so yeah, as far as the spur trimming goes, we actually just trimmed their spurs for the very first time last weekend. Theirs just kind of stayed quite dull all on their own. Let's not do that, Mei. It's okay. Mei doesn't like it when Morgan makes any mating attempts with our lab, and he's got to come over and scold him usually when he does that. It's okay, Mei. But yeah, their spurs just really didn't come into a point for a very long time. They definitely got, the length. Morgan's spurs are about that long, but they're just totally straight and really were still quite blunt. Ginger was actually the only one that we were getting a little concerned about the fact that they were starting to come into a point. But the others, they've remained really, really rounded. So we finally kind of thought, well, we might as well just keep on top of it. We don't want to let it go too far. So we actually used, instead of the dog nail clippers that tend not to...
Speaking of trimming spurs,
okay.
This would be a great opportunity to share. Because I only spent 50 hours looking for actual good dog nail clippers, and they don't exist. Even the ones they sell to vets for $80 are pieces of crap. So this is what we went with, and these are just pretty standard hand tools called cable cutters, and they are meant to cut steel cable. They are way higher quality steel. The only difference is they're not going to have that little spring that reopens the handle. But I tell you what, cutting through those spurs, that was like chopping through butter. And then we got a smaller pair for the nails, and these just worked so great. I can't recommend them enough. They're not any more expensive than what you would pay for dog nail clippers, and they'll last forever. So this is the way to go. Don't waste money on dog nail clippers.
Definitely harder to work with. Well, and we should make clear too that with the spur trimming, we only did the smallest amount, just literally enough off of the tip to blunt them so that they wouldn't be a puncture danger. So I don't know if you can hold Morgan up maybe and show what's remaining there, because they're still quite long. It would be possible to trim them back little by little, but you don't want to do so much at a time that you hit the vein or the click in there. And when you trim them, the vein that runs down the spur will actually recede over time. The click will recede. So if you do just a little at a time, you can dial them back as much as you need. You just don't want to do too much at once.
Yeah, so we probably only took off just over a 1/4 inch. It was probably only out to, there where my thumb is.
Yeah, teeny bit, and then rounded it with the Dremel at low speed. Mm-hmm. The only other consideration, with his being as long as they are, we have 2 boys now actually who have kicked off their entire spur on one leg, and the first one we thought that he had hit it against a post here in the run. That was our best guess as to how that happened. But with Mei here, when he did it, he was nowhere near any posts, and the spur was cracked downward at an angle that just wouldn't be explained easily by impact with anything in the run. But as we thought about it, we realized that the way that they kick, with one foot coming out first and the other following it, it would be very easy with a miscalculation to hit that that spur themselves and snap it downwards. And we think
Mayme's
that's
was
what
still
happened.
attached when he kicked his off. It was still attached to his leg, just barely, but it was broken downward, not upward like you would think if he made contact with something. So we think.
Yeah, so that would be a consideration with keeping them shorter, keeping them duller. You know, we probably will continue to little by little kind of bring those in as a safety precaution, because we are pretty sure that that was what caused that, was that his own foot hit it. And that's something that's pretty scary, given that you never know when they're going to kick at something, and it feels like it could happen just about no matter what you do, as long as that spur is long enough to get in the way. So, and yeah, snap duck spur is definitely something I don't recommend spending the weekend dealing with. It is not fun. Very stressful situation. Things bleed like mad, and they do not like to float. Yeah. Yeah, we haven't had any experience with the white leghorns. We were saying a little bit ago that actually Maelstrom here is our only boy who has ever had any kind of inclination to kick towards us. They'll get into just, posturing with each other now and again. But Maymay is really the only one who has any kind of human-related anxieties, and his focus is on stuff on our body. Shoes, gloves, sleeves,
Baggy pants,
anything that seems weird on us in his estimation. And he's a fascinating case, because he's one of those birds that if you were to look at certain clips, certain moments with him, he would absolutely look so aggressive. But he's a complete cuddle bug. He's just kind of neurotic, honestly. It doesn't take a lot to panic or spook him. And he reacts really fast and really big when he's freaked out. So with him, it's all about just mitigating by moving very predictably, keeping things consistent, just kind of if he seems to be getting worked up or anxious, freezing and talking reassuringly to him. And he can be the biggest cuddle bug on the planet, or he can come out of nowhere and get you in the back of your ankle. But he's a very, very good boy.
He also doesn't like the Folgers coffee cans we use to bring out their food. He really does, until he sees the food inside, huh? Until you see the food. Yeah.
Oh, Ginger.
You know you can come back out, right? You can come back out. Good boy.
No, poor Poncho. That is so scary. We have a video of when we were addressing, it was Daisy when he broke his off, the first one we dealt with. And no joke, we were standing right here. Maymay spooked him. He kind of parkoured off of that door frame. And it was maybe within 4 or 5 seconds of him getting back on the ground and walking away that I saw a whole spur just lying in the dirt, and scanned around, saw that Daisy had only one, got him picked up. He was in my arms before bleeding could even start, and the door to the house is right there. It was the biggest mess. There was blood all over the kitchen. I mean, and we got him in within like less than a minute of it happening. So it didn't help that our quick stop got humidity in it, and it was basically a cake, just a hardened cake instead of powder. We were having to grind it out in our homes to get it on him. So unfortunately, when Maymay did his, we at least had the experience and powdered quick stop.
Certainly lessons to be learned. Be prepared. Better to have a stock of things than realize something went bad, or you're without something. So we will never be in a situation where we have a bad quick stop.
Very scared of that. And yeah, so Denise, as far as what to do if they spray, I mean, really the first rule would be to take all measures possible to ensure that they can't puncture. That could be thick clothes, it would be keeping the spurs stalled. I mean, Maymay has gotten a ton better with the kicking and the flogging and things, but still sometimes I have to hurry to intervene with someone, and he's about to demonstrate now, and I may just let him. But yeah, he's gets me still on a semi-regular basis, but his spurs, he now only has one, but even before that, they were so blunt and so dull, he just really couldn't cause anything worse than a scrape or a bruise. Now, this obviously depends on, your age. It's going to depend on how much, what rigidity you have in your skin. If you have any kinds of bleeding conditions, that definitely factors in. But assuming that you are in normal health, your skin condition is normal, all of that, just general spur maintenance should at least ensure that you're not getting horrible puncture wounds that land you in the ER with sepsis. It should really just be limited to bruises. So that being said, what I do if he kicks is really still just to freeze and focus on calming him down. I'm not sure if you had joined the stream when it happened, but he got me actually in the hand just at the start of this. He doesn't really like cuffs of jackets. For some reason, this moving against the
Just
skin
yours.
freaks him out. He's okay with Jacob's. It's interesting. I've even dressed up as him on days that he's out of town so that Maymay could get his snuggle time. This is actually a very recent improvement, the fact that he's so calm about this right now. I used to have to put on his coat to kind of fool him into not being upset at the sleeves. But yeah, if you back it up, you can see that he kind of grabs the sleeve with his beak, jumps up, hits with his feet, and I mean, let's see here. Let's show how minimal that was. I'm not sure if you can even see anything. About all there is that teeny little scrape right there. This is actually from Morgan making a mating, or Ginger actually making a mating attempt recently. So that was even worse. This could maybe get a mild bruise, but it's just as long as the spurs are rounded and dull, it's really not usually a huge deal.
I think more often than not, they make contact with the pad of their foot, which can still hurt. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's interesting seeing them kick, especially in videos when you catch one on video and then go back and play it in slow motion, and you see how they're actually doing things. They don't just jump up and kick, like she said. He grabs. They use, and with each other too. They're usually grabbing for their comb or wattles to hold on to something, and then they kick at them so that they're pulling the other one towards them. I don't know how that's relevant. Just an interesting observation, I guess, that even something like kicking is more complicated or nuanced than it seems on the surface.
Very dexterous.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely no reaction, like Jill said in the chat. No reaction is the best reaction, because pretty much most of the time, now maybe for some roosters, if they have a history of combativeness and conflict with their keeper, they may be trying to spur out of just anger or feeling insulted, but for most boys, and especially the first time it happens, it is panic. It is just being afraid. It's something striking them as potentially dangerous. And as far as they're concerned as prey animals, they don't feel like they have time to be measured in that response. They're going to react big because it's most likely to keep them alive. So the best response really is just sympathy. Kind of a, oh no, it's okay, it's fine. That's why I said get right to reassuring, letting them see that everything's okay. Because as much as it can hurt or it can be inconvenient or frustrating, it's only going to reinforce to them that there's a fight, there's a problem. Any kind of shared panic or negativity on our side is kind of going to fuel that fire. So we want to be the calming presence. We want to be the thing that helps them see them as well, so that they don't feel like that needs to be done again in the future. Basically take every time it happens as kind of a teaching moment, so that we can see what it is that they're reacting to and what's upsetting them and help with it, and so that they can see that that actually wasn't a problem and they're fine and we can all move on. Huh. Hi, Daisy baby.
Thanks again, by the way, for you guys tuning in and engaging and asking the questions. Definitely helps a lot. Much appreciated.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do through Livestream for quite a while, but we weren't really sure on the tech side of things how to go about that. We just recently got the security camera put up, and that has definitely simplified getting that put together.
Yeah. Although there's still issues. Clearly the microphone's not the best on windy days.
Yeah, which unfortunately we have a lot of up here. We're at a really high elevation. It's basically just flatland, so there's like no hills or mountains to break up the wind. We had a snowstorm just a few days ago with like 35-mile-an-hour winds like all day long.
Yeah, we probably got 6 or 8 inches of snow, and in the corners, you know, it was probably a foot and a half deep.
In what felt like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were out here in the coop putting up that cardboard from 11 or 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. because we were watching them on the baby monitor that we have to make sure everyone was coping well with the cold. And yeah, I just saw this whole billowing, looked like a blizzard pass through the coop, and went, well, that's not okay.
Ventilation is good unless.
Yeah, well, and the problem was the snow was just so light and there was so much wind that even with this giant roof and all the distance that needed to go to blow in there, it was just filling the air in here. So we're very glad to be through that. I think we had a low of 1 that night and -2 to -6 the following night. And
Yeah. Fortunately, no frostbite.
this is true. Hooray for ventilation.
I thought maybe tip there, but that's not better.
Yeah. Maybe, what do you think, Ginger's kettle?
What do you think?
Daisy does.
I can hold the daisy.
Yeah, you can hold the daisy. Little flower child.
Right. And Daisy just got a beak trim yesterday.
That's true.
Yeah. His was getting a bit overgrown.
Lazy Daisy.
Lazy indeed.
Not doing enough digging.
Yeah. So, I was surprised. I gotta say, Sarah knew the whole time that we would just be using, you know, regular nail clippers, but I thought for sure that we would need something better than that. And yeah, nope, easy as butter.
Well, it was very barely overgrown and very thin. It was like really just, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch poking out. So if it had been much longer, that definitely wouldn't have worked. Hi, buddy boy. Oh, honey.
I'll help you down, okay? Don't jump down.
Oh, you've got Ginger, right? Morgan's coming down. Maybe. Maybe, would you like to come up, honey? Mom will give you cuddles.
You got a crow with that?
Daisy, do you see the camera? Oh.
Good boys. Oh, sorry, Lily. My bad.
No, did Papa spook you? You spooked me. I'm sorry. Come here. You want to come up? You can come up, good boy. Come here. Yeah, Papa. It's okay. The slaves aren't going to get you. Don't worry. Don't worry, baby.
You know, I guess it's a good thing to bring up that, you know, I'm sure a lot of people know, but maybe some don't, and since some people might watch this after the fact, like, whether you're only dealing with one rooster or multiple, whether they're fighting each other or they're, you know, coming after you, I really think that the best action you can take, you know, besides standing still and you know, not kicking back, is really just a hand in front of the face. Like, if you can block their eye line to whatever they're attacking, it's enough of a distraction just for that moment that it, even if it's just for a couple of seconds, it, you know, throws them enough that they at least stop for that couple seconds. That's enough time for you to reassure them, tell them it's okay, and if it looks like they're, you know, about to go again, just hand in front of the face. And I found that, like, very little ever happens after that.
You do maybe
It's just
run
a
the
separation.
risk of a kick. A kick to
Sure,
your
I've been
hand,
kicked in the
so,
hand a couple times, but
yeah, proceed with caution. But
that's better than somebody else getting kicked
yeah.
instead.
Well, and I mean, I recently broke up a dispute between them by just going blah, 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 on their waddles. And it was probably about the silliest looking thing ever because they were all flaring and getting intense about it. And I just went jiggle, 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 jiggle on each of their waddles, and they looked completely confused, and then they just went their separate ways. Probably feeling like Mama had just lost her mind. But it worked.
Yeah.
It was a good distraction. Yeah. And so, yeah, as far as natural products for trimming their beaks, we have the pavers in here that they certainly could use. I don't know if this one over here by their door is visible, but they're just those thick square pavers that you would use for like a pathway or a porch. So they certainly could use those. We also have really hard soil that's mostly clay and rock. So they definitely have the opportunity. We joke that they're just cushy, spoiled, hand-raised birds because they're just some chicken things that we don't seem very interested in doing. We have one of our girls that we just had to trim her toenails because she's just kind of a spoiled princess and she doesn't dig. She'd much rather just sort of observe the crowd than engage in any of that. So her nails get overgrown. But the pavers can definitely be a really good thing if they're willing to use them. Just to give them something that they can wipe their beaks on that will keep it conditioned.
Well, like you said, I think it's an individual thing. Like every bird is a unique personality, right? So some of them are going to recognize that about themselves and take it upon themselves to maintain. Whereas like Daisy or Midnight, the hen, they just really don't seem to care.
They're very chill, we'll put it that way. Very laid back.
Yeah. I mean, Maymay's got long nails that we're going to need to trim soon, but, Ginger here keeps his nice and short. But they both dig, so, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's something we haven't caught on camera yet, that because we see Maymay digging and taking dust baths just as often as anyone else, but...
Yeah. I will say that he prefers this corner over here. He prefers the more sandy, loose dirt, and that might be why he's really not digging into anything hard and resistant. Whereas like one of our girls over in the ladies' run has got nails that are maybe, like quarter-inch long, if that. They're so short, and it's because she spends most of her day digging in a particular favorite pit that's like rock hard.
Slowly expanding the circle.
Yeah. Is it windy? Hi, Morgan. Hi, Morgan. Oh, you could show off your tail position now. You turn sideways.
I'm sure he's
Been
doing that, huh?
Boy, Maymay's very happy. Maymay's side Yeah. So Denise, with your rooster, if he's the head root, that could be a lot to do with it if he doesn't want to be handled anymore. It's been really interesting to watch the pecking order change with these boys because, like Ginger here, used to live on our shoulder. Like he was the #1 cuddle chick. He was the first one to try cuddling as a baby. He was the first one to seek it out every day. Just completely obsessed. And then he, after Maymay stopped being head root, this continued, all the way through puberty. He was still very cuddly, lived on our laps. As soon as Maymay stopped being head root, Maymay, right around the same time, had started cuddling and stopped being the leader. Ginger took over the leadership position, and just ever since, he's wanted more to do like what he's doing now.
And nothing more.
Kind of just sitting at the end of a leg, still on the clock, for lack of a better word. It's like he doesn't really want to just completely relax and kick back. And it definitely seems to be, we even noticed this with our head hen, that she was the last one to come around and start cuddling at all too. And it almost feels like they kind of get to pick. Like the more they cuddle, the less in charge they can claim to be. So there's kind of a balance. It's not so much that you wouldn't ever be able to handle him, just that he might not want to do like like what Mei Mei's doing right now and be super, you know, loved on. It sort of seems to take away their street cred.
Belittle them or undermine their authority.
Yeah. Kind of. They've got to look tough. And so it's focused more on interaction that doesn't make him look distracted, that doesn't make him look incapacitated in any way. So, like, letting himself be held like this, that's not a very trustworthy leader, because that's not a leader who can respond to the danger if there was one. But if you can get him just comfortably resting on your leg like this and just kind of give him some neck pets, he's going to feel a lot more able to respond, like he's still in control, he's still able to do what he needs to do, and he might be more accepting then. Same goes for dusk. If you go out after they've gotten on the roost and they're kind of done with things for the day, they tend to be a lot more relaxed. They don't feel quite as in the spotlight or as self-conscious around that time. And you might be able to start working up by just, you know, giving him nice pets, giving him neck strokes, talking nicely to him as he gets ready for bed, to kind of start that association forming that being close is nice. Just definitely be very careful not to do things that make him feel captured or disrespected or overridden.
Real quick on that though, like about going into the coop at dusk, like it's a really fine line with the light level and when they choose to be reactive and not. When he was head roo and we would come out to tuck them for the evening, if it was still a little bit light out, he would be down off of the roost immediately, you know, attacking whatever was coming into the run, which was us. But but if it were 10 minutes later and it was just that little bit darker, then he'd stay up there and be up for the night. And same thing even now, even since he's been in the kennel, we've come out a couple times a little bit too early, and Morgan and Mei Mei wind up jumping down and you know, to see what the threat might be or you know, what's coming into the run.
Yeah. Well, and it's important to note that Morgan's kind of trying to prove himself right now, because for the longest time they didn't respond that way. But it's like with Ginger Cage, because when we're coming out to tuck them, Ginger is in his kennel. They know that he's not in the coop with them. And Morgan, I think, is feeling kind of like he's filling that role in the meantime. So things are just weird enough that he's like very eager to prove himself. I think probably if he were comfortably in the position of head roo and used to that routine and knows to expect us, knows it's us coming in, it probably wouldn't be as big of a concern. It seems almost like he's doing it to demonstrate to the others that he can handle the job, less than because he needs to. But it's definitely something to kind of be aware of, you know, just anticipate that it's possible that he could react, you know, as though it was an intruder. But, you know, just go out, thick jeans, closed-toed shoes, have a light source with you, like a flashlight that you could kick on if you need to show him it's you. But I imagine usually with most chickens, they tend to be very placid after dark, almost catatonic for some of them.
But that's the key, after dark. If it's actually after dark, I think you're guaranteed safe. But if it's still a little bit light out,
if they can see, they might respond, but without visibility, they kind of just hunker down. So, and I would definitely recommend speaking to them, you know, from outside as you're approaching, just so that he knows that it's you coming and not something else. If he can hear your voice approaching and then the door opening, that should help to avoid any kinds of misunderstandings too. But these boys still get good night tuck and cuddles every single night. We got into that habit when they were having a hard time settling down without supervision when they were teens, but now it's just for fun because they love it.
And they complain if we try to leave too early.
They do. They know the word night-night, and they know it means we're about to go away, and they'll whine when we tell them it's time for night-night. Hold on. And you're wondering why I'm saying it now, huh? Because this is not night.
No, it's not.
It's not time.
Although Mei Mei could fall asleep in a second.
Could you fall asleep?
He's pretty comfy.
And yeah, they don't have any stuffed animals right now. I've wanted to get them some. I guess our big unanswered questions about it are durability of the material. I am mortally terrified of them ingesting something like fabric or stuffing or beady eyes or any foreign object, really.
I'd be more worried about their competing over them. Like, even if
That's
we
the
gave
other
multiple, like, you know, they're likely to choose a favorite, and then what if the other one also favorites that one? It would be just like having, I mean, we'd have to have like 50 stuffies.
Well, and I've thought about getting them multiple, but then you think about like how May responds to Morgan trying to humpy anything or anyone, and it seems to be less about what he's going for and more about that he's like, you're not allowed to behave that way. So we may still give it a shot. Right now they seem pretty content. I've seen Morgan take out his urges on the roofs, and they certainly take advantage of us when we're available. So they seem to be coping pretty well. We did go through a period there where they seemed wound up enough that I was starting to feel like we may need to do that. But fortunately they did settle back down very quickly, and yeah. So we're kind of in the midst of like, do we leave that off the table and keep it from being a possible source of conflict and contention, or do we add that in and just try to do enough of it that they don't feel protective? I've actually reached out to kind of a couple people to try to ask, like with large bachelor flocks, like, have you ever seen the same kind of competitive behavior they show with a real hen over a fake one? Like, could it possibly trigger that same kind of combativeness? And at least the main person we talked to about that hadn't seen it, but he's got a massive flock in a like free-ranging forest sanctuary kind of situation. Yeah, they're not nearly as close quarters as these toys, and they can easily avoid each other if they want to, whereas these guys kind of have to get along and tolerate each other more. So.
We might need to consider structuring the next one just a tad, or even like
This one's going on, buddy. Okay.
formulating some questions ahead of time to have them. Because honestly, we could stay out here all day. I could stay out here all day with the roosters, and it's fun engaging with people's questions and everything. So like, when do we say we have to go to the girls?
When Midnight starts screaming for us.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah, probably gotta wrap up in a minute here and get to the ladies. It's been the only tricky part of separating the genders. They've all done great with it, but it does mean double visits. We used to be out here for an hour and a half with both of them, ladies and roos, but yeah, now we each have our individual time slots. Yeah. Oh gosh, Mimi, I don't think Mom has had blood in her toes for like 30 minutes. Wow. Yeah, we did try, I took a throw pillow, an old crummy throw pillow that we don't use anymore, and wrapped actually this coat around and like tied the sleeves to kind of make a cushiony pad for Daisy when he was coming inside, kind of as a test to see if he would use it. And he did finally get to the point that he would, and we tried bringing it out here, other than just picking up a ton of mulch and filth immediately. The problem we were having was as soon as he climbed on it and started making any moves, the others who were higher up were running him off. So yeah, it seems, at least with them, they kind of seem to have this feeling like you shouldn't get to do that at all, just in general.
Which, I can't remember his name, but the same guy you were talking about, who has the large bachelor flock, said that that's totally normal and, perfectly healthy for lower roosters to not get a chance to mate. And that happens in nature as well with other birds and with similar hierarchies. So
Yeah.
I do feel bad about it still. I want them all to have, equality. I want them all to get the same privileges.
Gotta bring him inside for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta bring you inside and spoil you rotten. Aw.
Oh, come here.
He'd like to. Look at him, Morgan.
Hi, buddy. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's a good boy. Oh, I love you. Oh,
You're
good bud.
Hi.
It's a good hug.
Morgan's showing off his shuffle dance there. That's a new behavior actually too for him since Ginger's been in the kennel. Usually it's Daisy who gets really excited and shuffles right up against you as kind of a greeting and gets that energetic. Buddy. But yeah, ever since Ginger's been in the kennel and Morgan's kind of been making this play for head root position, he's been much more shuffly. Yeah. Yeah. Feeling pretty self-assured lately, aren't ya? Hey, Daisy. Yeah, this might be a decent example. If you look at the distance from Morgan's tail feather to his neck versus Daisy's.
Let me here.
Yeah. Morgan's got an interesting hiney shape going on there. Don't you,
He should be a showbird.
Yeah.
What
You
good
are very
posture.
fancy. Good boy, buddy. That's a good boy.
Moral of the story is just love them so much that they can't help but to be good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, buddy.
Huh? Is that about right?
Well, I mean, they've only known the baby talk their entire life. We joke that they don't know that they're roosters, but it's only half kidding. Oh. Never really been treated like normal roosters, have you? Pretty boy, Ginger. Oh. May. Do the big hugs.
Well,
Come here. Yeah, and the higher-ups didn't really seem to use the jacket. It seemed to kind of be just a, we don't want Daisy using it. I'm not sure they really entirely knew how. It was still weird to them, but they could see what he was starting to do, and they definitely didn't approve of that. So it's really funny, especially with May when he tries to run anyone off of doing that, because he has made no attempts himself that we've seen ever.
literally none.
Ever in his entire life.
The closest thing we've got, I've tried to get him to. I've tried to, entice him, but he'll peck at my hand when it's on the ground, like his instinct is telling him that's what he should do, but he's just, I don't even know. I just don't even know.
Yeah, he's very interesting because he's, first head root, he's definitely male. He has his male behaviors, but yeah, no mating interest whatsoever. He squats like a hen for back rubs, and he has recently taken to making a very hen-like sound, particularly in the evening when we come to tuck them in. Just kind of a
Like a complaining hen.
yeah, it's very strange, but it's only in the
Careful,
evening. It's okay. It was Mama making that sound. Oh, come here. You're okay. So confused. Come here.
You guys have been very good.
You're always so good.
You're so well behaved.
You're always so good. Dixie, he's fine, bud. He's fine. This is Daisy asking to be held instead. Huh. Are you doing your dance?
Ooh, good job.
He's a good boy. That's a good boy. I love you. Blah, blah, blah.
Good boys. Mimi!
Yeah, we've joked about that Maymay would be a great roof for the girls' flock, because we would love to see them all get to interact together, but like it's rough for the ladies since we only have 5 gals. Well, and I guess 2 of them are his siblings. So that's not great. You're a very good boy.
Goodness.
Oh, you're a very good boy.
What time is it that you all... Goodness gracious, boys. Careful, careful. Good boy.
Hi, Daisy. Careful, Morgan. Maybe go and get you if you do that. It's okay, Master. Do you want to come on?
Here. Oh.
Good boy.
Hi.
Daisy.
No, put your back in here, okay? Good job.
Don't
Good
bite
job.
his legs. He's fine.
Good boy. Oh.
You're a smart boy. Yeah. Crazy Daisy indeed. It's so funny because he's so docile and chill and sweet all the time that like every once in a while he just goes crazy bird out of nowhere. And he's calculating too. He's strategic. I'll never forget when he was maybe, I don't know, probably about 5 or 6 months old. They were in their old run, and somebody had come up and given him like a scolding peck right on the back of the neck, just kind of a hey, keep in line kind of correction, and it spooked me. He went running away into the coop, right, and then he just stood in there and like stayed out of the situation for probably 30-45 complete seconds, and then he just like it was like a light bulb went on. He turned and he walked confidently back out into that run, right up to the boy who had pecked him and pecked him right back on the neck. Just like, I didn't appreciate that. But yeah, he's that sort. You know, he'll wait for the opening, he'll do it. It's not a spur of the moment. Like, it's a very deliberate thing with him.
Very calculated.
Yeah.
But
Hey, Mimi, do you want to come on? Come on, honey. Good boy, Peach. Okay. Oh, buddy. I love you, buddy. You won't believe this because it's so thrown together. We have it sitting on the hanging feeder that's here on the bench. Yeah, we are definitely far from high tech about this. We may get there. I honestly have no idea how most people do that, monitoring things like the comments. Like, there's gotta be a better way
well,
than
if they do it from their desktop
feeder
computer,
phone.
then it would be there. A lot of them do it on their phone just like this, but you can live stream from your phone
I
camera
guess that's true.
and then have the feed
I
there
guess
as
that
well.
would make it easier, yeah.
Come here. Good boy.
Oh, good job.
Good boy. You want to be gentle. Gentle. Almost. Almost. Good boy. Thank you for being gentle.
Yeah, I do wish Daisy would lighten up. So many times Maymay will come up and like literally just peck the toe of my shoe. Like he's being a little sassy, but it's not a big deal. And then like 30 seconds later, it seems like Daisy's chill. You know, Maymay goes his separate way. Everything's stable. And then Daisy will just come out of nowhere like 30 seconds later with the ninja kick. And we gotta scoop Daisy up, like take him off to the coop, like calm down. But he's really protective.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that he gets upset about is when he feels like someone's been rough with one of us. He'll never do it for himself. They can mess with him all they want. He won't do anything back to him usually, but Ginger, what's the matter, buddy?
It's his signature song.
Gingy.
Good boy. Can you get that? Get it. Get it. I got it. Wait, I got it. I got it.
Oh, good.
There we go.
But yeah, with the sitting position, I guess really now that I think about it, the only ones we ever use would be like this, just sitting flat where you can kind of pop up super fast if need be and crouch like he is. I will sit cross-legged sometimes with the girls, but really never the boys, just because if something required quick action to get face out of like kicking radius, it's going to be really hard to get up from cross-legged as compared to some other postures.
And that's the practical reason, but the reason this whole thing started is I used to use a stool and sit about at this height, but May would not jump up for cuddles at that height. And if I was crouched down here, he would more often actually jump up for those cuddles. On top of that, he developed his own unique... Come here. His own unique cuddle, especially when the lap was taken. And I'm forcing him now, but every day he'll come up and shove himself up in between my legs like this, just to be close. And we call that the May leg hug. Huh, buddy? This is your special thing? Yeah. So I couldn't ever go back to the stool now, because then May wouldn't get his leg hugs.
Yeah. They do come up with weird things like that. Like Daisy came up with front hugs, is what we call that. And for the longest time, he was only being allowed to cuddle like this with a hand on his head, because if he tried to whip around towards the face, I could stop and control. He was not allowed to cuddle facing face to face. And then one day, he just kept pushing back against my chest and trying to turn, and like I'm trying to angle him to position him one direction or the other. And he just would not go with me. He just really wanted to be right here. And finally, just out of exasperation, it was like, okay, what are you trying to do? And he just stepped forward right into my chest and put his chin on my shoulder. And that was all he wanted. And I told him at the time, I'm not sure if this is a safe idea, Daisy, but he was right and it was fine. But yeah, I just don't want with me.
Good boy.
Good job. Oh, good boy. Oh, that's so sweet. You smell like Papa's beard.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess obligatory disclaimer, always important to be careful when they're near your face.
Yeah.
We used to be much more careful about it than we tend to be these days.
Well, and that's because they used to be more on edge. They used to be, less tame than they are now, and I think that that's just something that comes with time for them and for us, building that trust on both sides and getting to know the individual. I think it's fair to say we hold each of them differently, like our sort of awareness and our alertness is different with each of them, just because they're so different. But you can tell when they're calm, when they're tired, when they're on alert, and occasionally when they get it in their mind that something is interesting, or they're curious, or that freckle might be a bug, let me check. And when they turn their head and lock on, that's when you got to be ready to respond and just create a barrier. But oh man, a year ago it was nowhere near the face. We would not even be entertaining that. It was like she said, off to the side with a hand around the neck, always in control of that, and this awesome closeness and trust relax. Would you relax? That we've developed has just come with time. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Morgan's
And
like, yeah, closest. Let me make chickies with you.
one of the cuddliest boys now doesn't want to be held because he knows he's being watched and
Oh, we're having tryouts.
judged, exactly, for head Roo. Come here, Mimi. Come here.
Maybe I'll be close.
Okay.
Aw, or Daisy would.
Yeah.
Come here, Morgan.
And I swear, I don't know that I doubt that they understand what a camera is and what it does, but they seem to behave differently in its presence when I bring out the actual camera on the tripod, or when I have the GoPro on my head mount. You know, maybe it's just that it's a little bit of a distraction, something that's not normal is present, but they definitely seem to be on their best behavior when other people are watching.
And I'll take this Jill question because she has to go. But
Okay.
yeah, Daisy is really the only one who at least insists on front hugs. There are times that he just will not settle for anything else, and he will actually fight me and push back against my hand until he gets that position. But the others love it too, just it's usually not as much their idea. Like Daisy will get his front hugs up on the roost sometimes, and Morgan will jump up and kind of shuffle in on the other side to be held too, just kind of out of necessity. But yeah, it's definitely kind of a Daisy invention that he seems very fixated on. And also definitely can be a danger of getting nipped in the face. It depends kind of on the circumstances. May actually got me just like right about here on the cheekbone just maybe a few weeks back. And that one, admittedly, he was clearly on edge. That is why I was picking him up, is because he was preparing to go after somebody or other, and I was trying to get him up and away and out of the situation. So I knew picking him up that he was like hair trigger right then, and it was just in the process of trying to get him positioned and pointed where I needed him. He moved around and just got, you know, a little bit of a bruise and scrape right here. It wasn't anything too serious, but pretty close to the eye still.
Same.
So.
And on that note, same boy will, you know, cuddle and preen my beard. He'll, if I have like a feather casing or a little feather fluff on my eyelash, he'll get that ever so gently. Like my eye was open as he did it. Like he just grabbed my eyelash. And
Daisy has nibbled
very,
my
very
eyelash.
conscious and considerate and deliberate. You know,
Yeah, so it's
excellent.
just, it seems kind of like sometimes stuff like that slips out when they get excessively worked up or anxious. Or Daisy got me really bad in the septum once because I was leaning over right at us. I had just picked him up to carry him to roost, actually, and I was trying to get a closer look at something that looked like it might be a minor injury, and I just leaned in a little too far, and he didn't know what was going on, and just bam, got me like right below the nose there. But it always feels like it's really an accidental thing. It's not like they're like seeing our eyes and going, oh, tasty treat. I actually don't think they do that nearly as much as some people think. It's usually more of kind of an expression of annoyance or frustration or excess energy that they don't really know how to express, and they just kind of lose themselves and go for whatever's close. Are you braiding my ponytail? Hi.
Of course.
Don't eat hair, though. We don't want to eat hair, buddy. Don't. Hi, yeah, we do want to be careful always with face masks, because that could be bad even if they don't. Yeah. Oh, buddy.
I still insist that most people do take that precaution and not let a rooster near, or even a hen for that matter, near their face. Petra is really bad about pecking faces. I think it's just that high-strung energy, and like she just doesn't know how to express things. But she'll go for lips, she'll go for teeth, and gum, and noses, and eyes, and everything.
She's a
between.
total ball of nerves pretty much all the time.
If you don't know your chicken, don't let them near your face. Doesn't matter if they're a rooster or not.
And so talk to Donna, you'd asked when we started picking them up and holding them. So with these boys, they came to us the day after they hatched. So they were just day-old chicks. We didn't take them out of the brooder at that point because, you know, they need the heat and they have pretty weak immune systems and just all of those concerns. But what we were doing is we were washing our hands incredibly thoroughly and sitting in the room, in the brooder room with them, basically just with a hand in the brooder box resting on the ground like this, so that if they wanted to come up and investigate, they could. If they didn't have to. And we would just kind of sit there with part of us in the box with them. And in pretty short order, they did decide they wanted to kind of come up and investigate. They realized the hands were kind of comfy and warm. They got used to that being around and non-threatening. So once they started to get to the age that it was safe to take them out for short periods, once they walked onto our hand, we would, shielding them, we would very carefully lift them out, talk to them, just kind of let them be in our lap, in our hand briefly, and return them to the brooder. But we spent probably at least 1, if not 2, and sometimes 3 hours a day in the brooder room with them. Not so much because we had to, really, just because we were over the moon to have them. They were such fun, and we just kind of couldn't get enough of watching them. But it's kind of one of those things that the more the better. The more present you can be, the more used to you they can be, and the more you can feel like part of the group to them, the easier that's going to be, for them to form that bond and keep it. So one thing about these boys is that they've never, since the day they came home, they have never gone even a single day without their visit time. Even if that means that an errand needs to be run out of town and only one of us can go and the other stays and covers visits.
Even on Christmas and Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
all the other
They were the reason I couldn't attend family Christmas this year. But they really do thrive on routine and predictability, and they will start to anticipate that. These boys will gather and watch for us at the door right around visit time. They know that we're going to be coming out soon and look forward to it. So, we kind of joke that they've just never had the opportunity to question whether we're friends. They've never had space to, because we're around so much. The big thing is, you want to have as much close time as you can manage. You want to have as much of a predictable routine as you can manage, and you want to always put their comfort level first in whatever that is. So that means if they're not in the mood to cuddle right then, if they kind of want to just stand nearby like Morgan is now and keep their distance, then you do that. You talk nicely to them. You might try giving them a neck pet if they seem to like that. Do more of it. If they twitch their head, stop. But you really want to take any opportunity you can to send them a signal that you're paying attention to their cues and that you care about those cues. That you're not going to override their preferences or their security level and do anything that makes them feel vulnerable or trapped or disregarded. Simply because as prey animals, that's going to be a really threatening situation to be in if they feel like they have that loss of control where they're not able to do what they feel they need to do. So holding is great when they want to be held. If they give any indication that they're stressed, they're uncomfortable, they're anxious about it, use that as a perfect opportunity to say, hey, you can count on me to look after you. I'm going to let you go do your thing, because that will show you that I care about your feelings and you can trust me. So that's kind of the disclaimer. Lots and lots and lots of handling, never by force, if you can at all avoid it. Obviously, sometimes we have to handle them to do important things like cleaning butt fluff or,
trimming toenails and spurs. And that's a really good point, is that, investing that time, gaining their trust and showing them that they can leave whenever they want, reinforces to them that when we are holding them back and they want to get down, that it's for a good reason. Sometimes when we bring them in, if we're having to treat an injury or something and we have to hold them still, they may squirm and want down, but after that first bit of resistance and us holding them there and a little bit of reassurance, it's okay, we're doing this to help you, we're helping, and then they just calm down and then they're okay with it and they let us do what we need to do, and then once we're done, they get down and just like that. Yep.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned the spur trimming and dremeling and everything earlier. It's worth noting that we didn't have to towel any of them to do that. I held them in my lap and gave them neck pets, and he did the clipping and the dremeling, and they were perfectly well behaved. But it really does make a difference, like them knowing that you would never do anything against their will unnecessarily. It really does seem to help them understand that if you're making them do something, it's really, really important. You know, but just having that foundation of respect does a lot to help with bonding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ginger. Hi. Hi. Yeah, you could play. Yeah. You good boy. Hi, Mimi. Well, if there aren't any other questions, it might be a good time to wrap up for the ladies.
I think it would be. I don't know that there's, again, it's going to take some practice and it'll take some refinement, but we'll get there and have a cleaner exit.
Oh, Mimi, come here, buddy.
But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to add?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say definitely on the right track, getting the pieces in your hand. I'll maybe even just add that one thing that we did with our new girls who came to us at about 4 months of age, when we got them, I was still pretty firmly in the mindset that if you want really tame chickens, you have to start with chicks and you have to spend that time with them, you know, and really hand raise them if they're going to be that bonded. So we found ourselves, of course, in a position where we had 4 roosters and only 2 hens and needed to fill out the girls' flock. So we sort of had no choice but to get older girls, and really went into it thinking that they were never going to be sweet and cuddly and affectionate like our original birds. And just kind of on a whim, what we started trying was when we would go out to visit them each night in their quarantine area in the garage, when they came close enough and seemed relaxed and paused, we would just gently pick them up and set them on our lap, but we would immediately let them leave. Like, we wouldn't keep them there at all. We wouldn't even try to persuade them to stay. Literally just pick up, back off, let them choose. And it was within just a couple of days, honestly, that the first of those girls decided that it was kind of nice and that she would hang out. And within maybe another day or 2 from there, before she was lying down in my lap and wanting cuddles. And I really have thought ever since that it is because she got purposeful opportunities to see that she was in charge. She could tell that being picked up doesn't mean being caught. It doesn't mean being trapped. It doesn't mean being helpless, which seems to be a really huge deal to them. So yeah, anytime that you can find opportunities, like, think kind of in the negative space and not just the positive. You want them to see that affection and closeness and touch and all of these things are nice, but you also want to take advantage of those opportunities where a lack of something can teach to, a lack of compelling them to stay, a lack of pursuing something they're not interested in. That kind of thing can speak volumes too. So yeah, just keep up with the gang that used your hand being around. It's obviously a huge foreign thing that could be really, really scary for them until they do adjust to that. But once they see that that brings food, you know, once they start getting old enough to be able to eat treats and having their grit, that hand can bring food, it can bring a warm spot to rest, it can bring so many nice things, and pretty soon they're going to be excited to see it and they're going to want to engage. Yeah, and as always, we have our email too, you know, in the description for the channel. So any questions you think of after the stream, anything you want us to cover in a future one, we'll probably be scheduling another in the very near future now that we've got the capability. But we're always around and always happy to help answer anything we can and chime in on questions or any subjects you're interested in.
I think it'd be cool to do this maybe even weekly. I don't know if there would be, you know, enough subject matter to be discussed for very long on a weekly basis, but I don't know, you can let us know, I suppose, and we'll take a poll or something and see what people want, weekly or monthly, something like that. But But yeah, I guess we should probably get to the girls so they don't feel like they're being forgotten. I know.
Yeah, at least it's only 3. It's not too bad.
But thank you so much for joining us today and giving us some things to talk about.
Absolutely.
Seeing the boys. Mimi says goodbye. But yeah, hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time.
Alright.
You wanna go? Alright, boys.
Okay, buddy.
We'll go see you soon.
Goodbye for a little bit, okay? Goodbye for now.
I know.
Where did that theater come from, huh?
Good
I
boy.
know.
Good
Okay,
boy.
buddies.
Alrighty.